Greetings everyone. Today's video we're going to be making dungeon walls for our reusable tiles. We've done the cavern walls in the last episode. If you haven't watched that video, check it out. But today we're going to be focusing on the dungeon wall build. So without any further ado, let's get to the build. Our first step was to cast a whole bunch of Herstart's castle walls, so you can see those here. Now you'll notice that some of the colors are a little bit darker. Some of the tones are a little bit darker in some and lighter in the others. That's because I was using a mixture of art plaster and Merlin magic on some of them. So the solid gray ones are all Merlin magic and the lighter ones are a mixture of art plaster. So what we do then is I've taken some 1/2 by 1/2 inch pieces of wood. Now I'm using some scrap poplar and pine right here. Soft wood is fine. You don't need anything really outstanding quality-wise because we're just going to be painting over them. But what I did do, you can see, is I did put a 6mm hole in each one. And that hole was placed roughly about the center of where each of these wall sections was going to go. So that was countersunk in just a little bit over 2mm, because what I wanted to do is I wanted a nice flush finish at the bottom. So now that we have our stick laid out, what we're going to do is we're going to start gluing our pieces onto the stick. And I'm using the tacky glue for this because it's a nice blend. It hardens and, you know, cures pretty quickly, but it gives you enough time to make some fine adjustments. So I've got the first one on there. What I was going to do is just get the whole stick sort of glued up, and we'll put the other ones on top. Now, the other thing that I wanted to do when I'm putting these on is I want to leave a little gap between the two. It's real difficult to see here. We'll see it a little bit later on, because the plan is to make long sticks of these and then to cut these up into either, you know, 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, 4 inch, 5 inch. I think I did some 6 inch ones as well, depending on the size of the wall that I wanted. So you can see they've all been placed on there, and you can see the gap a little bit better in this picture here. So the gap is designed to be just the width of a jigsaw blade, which is what I'm going to use to cut these all up. So here we have them all sort of assembled and ready to go. Okay, so we have them, they have been cut now on the jigsaw downstairs, and you can see our hole again there where the magnet is going to go. So I'm cleaning up the edges a little bit. And here they have all been, the first batch that I've done have all been flat, or painted flat black, yeah, as our base coat. So what I wanted to do that for was provide a nice base to put the additional layers of paint on top. Now we're ready to move on to the actual painting part of this. So I picked up some of this paint at, I believe this was at Lowe's. It's a paint sampler. You get a nice quantity of it for just a few bucks. So I like to go with that. It's a latex indoor paint. So that's going to be our base color. Then what we're going to do is come back with a slate gray on top of that. And then we have a dove gray and a cotton ball, which are going to be the highlighting colors we're going to use. So what I'm doing here is I'm going ahead and putting the first color down. I'm making sure that I get into all the nooks and crannies. Now I'm painting the wood and the blocks on top as well. Now my plan is, as I'm going through this, is I want to leave the wood part this darker gray, because it's really going to be covered up by our base tiles that we use with these as well, which is another Herstart set that I have that is, I think it's cavern floor. So there's the base coat. So we're going to come in and hit it with our first highlight color, which is going to be the slate gray. Now this is going to cover most of the top part of the walls, the stone part. So what I want to do is make sure that I get some good coverage on here. This is going to be the hardest layer that we're going to put down as far as our dry brushing goes. So these go pretty quickly. They're pretty easy to paint. On a scale of 1 to 10, they're about a 1.5 at most. So you really have to struggle to try to mess these up. So once we get our first coat on, we'll let that dry, and we will come back and put our second coat on. So we've had our slate gray. Now we're going to go to our dove gray, which is looks significantly lighter here in the video, but it is a little bit lighter, but not quite as dramatic as it looks there. But so what we're going to do is when we put this layer on, we're going to use less pressure than the first layer, of course, which is what we do with all of our dry brushing techniques. So what we'll do here, we get our excess paint off, and we will just lightly hit the sides of the piece now. Now what we're going to do is use less pressure on this one than we did on the previous one. Obviously, we don't want to paint over everything that we just painted on the previous layer. So we've got our second highlight layer down, looking pretty good. So let's move on to the third highlight. Okay, well now we get to our last highlighted color, which is going to be our cotton ball, which is a really almost like a white color. It's real thick stuff. So what we're going to do is we are just going to hit the very highest of high peaks on our pieces for this. We don't want to press too hard. The other thing we're going to want to do as we do this is we're going to want to make sure that we get a nice edge on all the corners there. So you can see that I'm hitting that with the side of the brush because I want there to be a nice sort of reflective edge off the corner. So there is the last highlight, and if we take a look at the product here, they look pretty good. Like I said, it's pretty difficult to mess up the way bricks or blocks, stone blocks look. But I'm happy with the base coat and the 3 colors of highlighting on top of that. So 4 colors in total, pretty easy to do. And again, using the side of the brush, we want to make sure we get a good corner cut on those. So here is, I've put the magnets in. Like I said, I've countersunk these just a little over 2 millimeters. I want there to be a nice flat finish. You can see there's some of the goop adherent product there that is has spilled out a little bit. So what you can do is you can clean that up. It's almost like the rubber cement you used to use in school, or at least I used to use in school many years ago when I went to school. So that cleans up pretty easily. So once they've been cleaned up, we can check out and see what they're going to look like on the table. All right, so here is the fruit of our labors, the castle/dungeon walls. Again, as was the case for the previous video we did on the caverns, the real nice thing about this is the modularity, the fact that you can do an infinite number of combinations for your game, whether it be Pathfinder, D&D, or any other type of game that you want to use some tiles like this for on your gaming table. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. I will be having some additional videos coming out real soon, including how to make some of the dungeon accoutrements like the doors and some of the cavern sort of portals and stuff like that. So please subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, and please give me a like if you did like the video, and we will see you real soon. Take care, everybody.